single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hey there, thank you for joining me. Cerise here. Welcome to Story Time from Sosua Shores. Oh, guys, this story here is one about a working girl. She wanted me to tell her story because she feels that it may coincide with a lot of the other women. Okay, so she said before the curfew and everything, she was doing really good business. She's 25 years old, and we're going to name her Helen just for the sake of I know Helen is not really a Dominican name, but we'll name her Helen anyway. She is a Dominican woman. She lives in Los Cheramicos, but she works in Sosua as a working girl, a prostitute. Now, she said to me, Cerise, a lot of men don't understand. And now when men come here, they get really beautiful Barbie doll style women. Dominican women are gorgeous. Beautiful style Barbie doll women, wonderful bodies, like their dream come true, and they don't have to pay much for her. And so she said that what she does is, they pay for her time and she leaves. And there was one dude that gave her a hard time. And he said to her, why do you always leave? Immediately after sex, you just get up, you start getting dressed, you take a shower, blah, 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 and you go. You don't even stay 5 minutes. You make it feel so cheap. You don't even kiss me or hug me or cuddle with me. She said, you hired me to do a job. I am not your girlfriend. And I have other places to go and things to do. You are being charged only $30. She charges $30, which is not a lot, right? But some girls here charge $20. You can get a girl for $25. Some guys pay a lot more. I've heard all different prices, but it really depends on the commodity. I'm telling you, that's exactly how they're looked at, how much they're worth. Exactly around the world, it's the same way. So don't let your jaws drop a little too far. You only get what you're worth type of thing. If a woman is older and overweight, and clearly she's not going to get as many customers as the younger woman that's fit and trim and stuff of that nature. And it's not unfortunate, it's just nature. And so the older woman that's out of shape may have to charge a little less. Sometimes women, if they're not as attractive, it's just the name of the game, and it's the way our society is. But this woman, she said her prices are good, and she does look good. She is beautiful. I was shocked, actually. I said to her, why don't you charge 50? Not that I was trying to change the way things are ran in the playground, because I really don't know the rules. But she said she prefers a fast nickel. I have this, I say this often as well. She says she prefers fast money as opposed to slow money. If your prices are too expensive, guys are going to think twice, because some guys, they get drunk and they don't even care. They just want someone to play with. And so she said she will always put her price to 30, 40 sometimes. Now, she said to the guy, you pay $30 for an hour of fun, and you want me to cuddle you? Why don't you offer $150 for my day, and we can cuddle all day long and relax in each other's arms and everything? And he's like, no, I can go get another woman for less. And she said, okay, then go get another woman for less. And she just wasn't having it. She said she had to get up and she had to go. She had to go back and get to the streets, and she had to work. And that money was not for her to fall in love with him. That money was for her to go buy food for her children and her family. And she told me straight up, the guy could not understand that. So he offered her another 1,000 pesos, which is $20 American roughly. And she said, what is this for? And he said, okay, for a half an hour. So she said, well, all right, for another half an hour, $20, cool. So she stayed for another half an hour for $20, and he was wasting his time. like 15 minutes. All he wanted to do was talk. And she was like, do you want sex or not? Like, what do you want? And he said, I just want to talk. And she was like, oh, okay. So she talked to him. And then at the very end, the last 5 minutes, he's like, oh, what time is it? I only have 5 minutes left. Oh, can we do something quickly? And she said, yeah, she was giving him 5 minutes. And she said, I'll give you 5 minutes. But if you're not satisfied in 5 minutes, I'm still leaving. And he knew he paid for the extra half an hour. So why did he ask for something in the last 5 minutes? Okay. So he clearly nothing happened because he was stressed and she was just trying to hurry it up, and he felt like she was rushing, and he felt like there was no love, and of course there wasn't. He hired her to do a job, and he thought he was going to get more than a job. He thought he was going to get affection as well. Well, that affection only happens during the time period that you hired the girl for, generally. So she left. He flipped out. He was WhatsApping her. She had to block him. He was WhatsApping her, calling her all kinds of names, telling her that she's a user, blah, blah, blah. And she said to me, you know what, Cerise? These men are paying for time. They're not paying for love. They're paying for a service. They're not paying for love. You can't pay for love. She said, yes, there's some times where some women do fall in love. They're from the streets and they fall in love. She said she has fallen in love with many Americans, but they end up forgetting about her once they get back to America. Or if they remember her, they don't send her enough money to keep her off the streets because she needs to survive. So she might meet a man here that doesn't make a very good income in America, and he's struggling on his own, and she loves him. She really adores him, but he cannot afford her. He cannot send her $100 for her rent a month. You know, sometimes rent is only $60, right? He can't send that to her. And that's about it. You know, just to digress for a second, I was at a restaurant before quarantine, and I was talking to a female that's in school. She's a young woman, and she's in school, and she lives on her own, and a gentleman pays for her rent, and he gives her $100 a month. And she said that he's cheap. And I said, how is he cheap? And she said, he only sends 100. And I said, well, how long have you been with him for? And she said, over a year. And I said, well, $100 a month is a lot of money to send someone. In my opinion, I think so. Like, $100 a month is $100 a month American, and that can be spent on other bills, I'm sure, of his, or even save it. And you know, so she was a little bit ungrateful, a young girl, but she wasn't on the streets. She was not on the streets. She made that $100. She makes that $100 work every month, right? So it's really hard for her. And she says every time she asks for more, the guy says, no, not now. And he always has an excuse. But that's because he's watching himself. And that's because he's making sure she doesn't take advantage of him. And he feels $100 is enough because he's been here. He knows how far $100 can go every month. But this other woman, Helen, she was, you know, she had a lot of expenses and still does. You know, she has a big family, and most of them are older women, and they're not, you know, I mean, they'll cook and they'll clean, but most of them are older now, you know, so she takes care of everyone with the money that she makes, and she needs a little bit more than $100 a month. She has children as well. And so she said to me, she said, a lot of the men feel that the women are cold-hearted, but it's not that. The women have to get up and go back to work. When those men are gone long after their vacation is done, who's going to pay for her rent? Who's going to pay for everything she needs? She said, yeah, sometimes she just wants to stay around the pool and chill out, have a few drinks and relax for the day. But she can't do that because she has to get back to work. And she said her working as a working girl is a true job. It's not something that she treasures to do, but she says it's easy for her to do it. She can watch her kids during the day while they go to school. She doesn't have to be out. And during the nighttime, when they're sleeping, she goes out for a few hours, and then she's back, and she has enough for the next day for the kids to eat and stuff of that nature. So she also said to me that one thing of her pet peeve, she said not only does she understand that a lot of men have that pet peeve, the girl just gets up and leaves right away. She said she has a pet peeve. And the pet peeve is when she's at a bar and she's working. Like, let's say she's in a bar, she's working. A guy goes up to her and he's about to ask her a few questions, ask her price, and see what she's all about. So he'll say to her, "Hey, can I buy you a beer?" And she'll say, "Sure." Right? He doesn't just go up to her and say, "How much are you?" Usually, she says guys are not sure if she's a working girl or not because she doesn't really present herself as one. So a guy will buy her a beer. He'll say, "Hey, can I buy you a beer?" And she'll say, "Yeah." And then eventually they'll get into talking. Within about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's clear that she's a working girl to the guy. And then they will start establishing a price. And she says sometimes she'll lower the price if the guy is a really nice dude, but if he's not and he's just a monger, it's $40. But if he's a nice dude, she'll keep it at 30, her price. Now, what she can't stand is when a guy will talk her ear off for 15, 20 minutes and buy her one beer. And and then at the end of the beer, he decides that he's going to go somewhere else and go with another woman. So she said, just a little tip, don't waste a woman's time. After 5 minutes talking to her, you're going to know whether you want her or not. Don't take 20 minutes of her time, because during that 20 minutes, you spent $2 American on her, pretty much, a beer, right? And she could have made more than that in that 20 minutes. Like, you bought her a beer and you took up 20 minutes of her time, and she could have been finding a customer, an authentic customer, not one that just wants to ask her questions all night and then decide that he doesn't want to take her home and pay her what she's worth. So that's what she says is her pet peeve. And she says that when she's in a club and she's looking for a man, it's very easy for her to find. It's not a problem. She's a beautiful woman, but she's also very careful. She thinks about you guys out there. So she won't go home with just any man, especially if the man looks dirty, has any type of a skin condition. She says she knows she shouldn't judge about skin conditions and stuff, but she just won't go there because she has children and she doesn't want to take anything home and she doesn't want to give anything to anyone else. She also said if he doesn't brush his teeth, if his hair is greasy, if his breath stinks badly, she said she has standards, and she will not go with just any man. So men that go with her, they know she's clean. They know that she's not trying to, hook up with some nasty, dirty birdie and just for money. No, she's not like that. And so she said that a lot of women are not like that. Some women will. They'll go home with a dirty man and, nasty, didn't brush his teeth, and that bed is all nasty because they go back to the guy's house and the bed's all nasty and the place stinks like old fart and nasty stale food. And she said no, she won't do it. She will not. And she said there's been times where she has gone into a hotel room or an Airbnb, something of that nature, and if she looks around and she sees it's conditions that are unhealthy, no good, she knows the guy is not clean, and she will walk back out and say sorry. She can't do it. And she's had guys chase her down the street. She said one time a guy paid her before he took her home. And he said, here's $30, let's go. She went with him and she got to his place and she saw how dirty it was and everything. And she tried to leave and he grabbed her by her arm and he wouldn't let her leave. And he told her, give her back the money. And she said, no, you're not getting back the money. You paid it first. That's your problem. And he kept her there and he called the police on her. And the police put him in jail, not her, because he was holding her against her will. And not only that, there was no true agreement. He didn't say, come to my place. And then, and not only that, when the police arrived and the police saw the hotel room and she said to them that he's keeping her in there. And, he had no proof that the money, but she was honest. She said she told the police, yes, he gave me money before, but he told me, here's some money. Come on, let's go. I didn't know what it was for. I thought it was just to give me a little something, like a tip in the beginning. And then when I did that for him, like when we had our work, the service, he would pay me my money. Like, who pays first? And the police knew she was lying. I mean, obviously she knew what the $30 was for, but she was peeved. She said when she got to his place after spending an hour with him in the bar, she went back to the place with him and it was nasty. She couldn't believe it. She said she was almost vomiting and ooh, she just ooh. And she said she had to walk out and she said she's leaving. She can't do it. And that's when he grabbed her arm and kept her against her will and wanted his $30 back. He should have just let the girl go, like let the girl go. Why are you calling the police on $30? And the girl says to you, no, she can't have sex with you in the house because it's just way too nasty. Like clean the house up, hire a maid. A maid's $10. Tell the girl, okay, can you come back tomorrow? I'll get a maid to clean up or anything. But you don't call the police on her. She didn't do anything really wrong. You guys made an agreement but yeah, it was his money and she really, ideally, she should have gave it back. And she knows that too. She said that to me. She said that she was just so disgusted that he wasted her time. And during that hour, she could have made the $30 and also probably more with a tip. And, so I guess at the end of the day, if she's that picky, some of you may think she shouldn't be in that line of work. And then others may think, yeah, I love that she's that clean because, it shows that there are some women in the industry that are mindful of taking care of themselves in order not to spread something. So, she also told me another story. So that guy went to jail. That gringo went to jail for the night and he paid a fine and he got back out. But I bet you he won't be so quick to call on another girl again. The circumstances may be different, but $30, you hold a girl in your room, call the police and you expect the police to come get your $30 back? No, the police are going to think that you lost it and look at your house and say, no way, of course this girl doesn't want to stay here. She said the police officers said to him, you should clean this mess up, even just for yourself. It's a health hazard. So imagine, it must have looked bad. Now, moving forward, she told me of another story one time where she had to go take a taxi cab to Cabarete. Cabarete from Sosua is about 15 minutes. So she took a public car and it costs 60 pesos, 50 pesos. 50 pesos is $1. So American. So she gets in the public car and she's on her way there. And the guy messages her and asks if would she mind if there's another girl there? And she got back and she said, no, just as long as we all still get paid the money that we're due. And so he's like, yeah, no problem. She arrives there and it was not another Dominican woman. It was a gringa. A white woman from another part of the world. She didn't know where the woman was from, but the woman wanted to get in on the action as well. So Helen said, well, that's 2 for 1. Helen said, well, if the woman wants something, that's 2 people that are getting service. It's not like Helen initially thought the other girl was to please him as well, right? So they would both please him. But when it came down to it, Helen was supposed to please both of them separately, not together. They weren't a couple, separately. And so Helen said no. When Helen arrived, Helen serviced him. He went in the room with Helen and Helen said, what about the woman? Like, isn't she going to do anything with you? And he's like, no, she's for you. She's going to come in after me. And Helen said, oh, okay, well, that's 2 prices. Like, that's double service. And he's like, no, you said it's okay. And she said, no, I thought you meant to have another woman there. And he said, oh, really? This is what you're going to do? You're going to charge now this $30? He should have wanted to give her 50 and out the girl give her something as well. Like, and he wants to get 2 for 1? What's his problem? That's cheap. That's just a cheap ass brother. I'm telling you. And so anyway, she said that he was clean. She said he's this guy that she has known from before, from the past, and he's Canadian. Shouts out Canada. He's Canadian, and but he's originally from Russia, and she said she thought she could trust him. Right? She thought it was kind of weird that he would ask for a second woman there, like ask her if it's okay if he had 2 women pleasing him. She thought it was a little weird because he didn't ever do that before. But when he popped that on her, she was like, no, you don't do that. That's right down disrespectful. And so the girl, he refused to pay Helen her money. He's like, forget it, get out. I'm not giving you your money. You're a ripoff. You lied. And Helen said, no, there was miscommunication. And he refused to pay Helen. The girl grabbed Helen's purse, grabbed Helen's everything, kicked the girl that was there, kicked Helen out the house and said, oh, you know what? I wouldn't want you anyway. You don't look like you would even be able to do much for me, blah, blah, blah. And the girl was obviously a lesbian. She was obviously looking for something, but she flipped out on Helen. The girl was drunk and very belligerent, and she felt Helen was trying to rip them off. And they kicked Helen out and didn't even pay her. Just threw her right out of the house on the street. On the street. Just like a piece of garbage. So Helen called the police. The police showed up. Both of them went to jail. Helen didn't go to jail. And the police didn't even want to take payment. The police officer that Helen called was a friend of hers in Gabarete. And he showed up, and Helen was outside on the street and, just sitting there. And the police officer said, what's going on? And she told them what happened. The police officer was so disgusted. He went into the house and he arrested both of them. And then the guy thought he could pay the police officer off. And he's like, oh, miscommunication, here. And he handed him 1,000 pesos. And the police officer said, that is Helen's money. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You just had sex with a woman, didn't pay her anything because she didn't want to give you 2 for 1. And now you want to pay a police officer 1,000 pesos to put that under the carpet? No. And the police officer said, no, this is a woman from my country. And you're treating her like she's some last class citizen. No. And they went to jail for the night. Both of them. They got out the next day. The girl and the guy. Helen never heard from the guy again. He didn't message her to cuss her out or anything like that. But that's just like another story. That's an occupational hazard that not only Helen has to go through, but many working women have to go through that. Working girls have to go through that occupational hazard. It's a hazard when they have to try to get their money. It's a hazard when people don't want to pay and hustle them and try to bargain with them for something that is just so sacred, And also she says that there are a lot of good men out there. When she says 30, they'll give her like $60 and then they'll call her the next night and give her $60 again the next night. She said there are a lot of good men out there that pay her what her price is and double. Sometimes, and she says when she knows that they are grateful of her time, she will stay an extra half an hour on the house. And she has done that. She said sometimes there were times where she wasn't even attracted to the man, didn't even want him sexually at all, but because she knew he's a big tipper, she would spend the whole night with him. And then he would give her $100. And it's not as much as she would make in a night, but she says some guys she will sacrifice for because she knows they're good guys and they have good hearts and they're just here for a little fun, and she wants them to remember their good time. And these are guys who are regulars. She sees them, either every few months when they come down or once a year. So she does know quite a few people and she does give quite a few deals, but and then she said one time she was with 2 other women in a hotel room and there was 3 men, so each woman for a man. And the man that got all 3 girls for the other guys, like there was one man that got all 3 girls for the 3 men. That man, he promised them that he would give them breakfast the next morning if they stayed. He promised that he would give them a little extra tip. He was drunk that night, right? So they all did their thing, and then the girls had a few drinks and they were about to leave that night, and he said, no, ladies, stay here for the night. My guys want you to stay here. I want you to stay here. Listen, we'll give you a little bit more. We'll make you a nice breakfast in the morning. Okay? And then the next morning, it didn't happen. He was hungover and he was too drunk and he wouldn't get out of bed. And he had to go to the bank machine. He didn't even have cash on him to give to the girls. Like, come on. You got to know you're going to have girls over. Have enough cash on you so you know you're going to pay them. Well, he had to go to the bank machine, and he said he couldn't go to the bank machine because he was too hungover and that he would go later in the afternoon. Now, you guys know what a hangover is like, and I'm sure he had a big one. And he was like, no. His head was spinning. Well, Helen went to the police. She called the police. The police showed up and made him go to the bank. And he went to the bank quick time, and she was like, yes, that's right. You cannot make a deal with her and then go back on it and expect her to wait for her money. She didn't make him wait for his service. She gave it to him full force, and even stayed the night thinking she was going to get more. So she did end up getting more, like he said. She didn't get that breakfast though, and he didn't even pay for her breakfast so she could go get it somewhere, at all. But at least she is the type of woman that's going to fight for her right. And she's going to let the man know that he can't take advantage of her. And she wants me to thank a lot of you men that come here and you are so respectful, so gentle. And she's also said that, a lot of you guys are looking for love. And she thinks that's very sweet. But she says, use your head. Know when the woman wants only work, and know when she is also open to love. Helen said she's had the same man for 15 years. Okay? He was her childhood love. She's only 25. 15 years? She's had the same man? Like, that is some childhood love, right? They're in love with each other since they were kids. And she says she's not interested in anyone else. She has fallen in love with a few customers and stuff like that. And she's thought about leaving her man for a couple of guys, a couple of times in her life. But she realized that it would be a foolish move because a lot of the men, they change when they get back to where they come from. And they can't take care of her, and he's willing to take care of her. He knows that she's a prostitute, and sometimes he needs help as well. But it's common a lot of the times for that to happen, where you will have a woman that's a prostitute working and she still has a man. And all over the world. I know some prostitutes in Toronto, the same thing. I know the man and the woman, their relationship. And the guy, everyone knows she's a prostitute and no one watches it. In Canada, it's illegal. Here, it's not. So this woman has her own business. She is her business, and she's making it work for herself. And those are a few things that she has to do. So what she said is, guys, when you're in a bar, don't waste a woman's time. If you want her, pay for her. If you don't want her, then at least buy her a couple of more drinks until another man walks up to her. And don't be all over her, kissing her. She said a man will not come up to her while she's sitting with another man, because men are respectful that way. She says, but there's a lot of times when a guy will buy a beer for a girl and then start touching her, and he'll want to like touch her back and touch her skin. And she's like, no, if you want to do that, then that tells me you're leading up to wanting more. And if you don't want more, if you're not sure, then don't touch. She said, don't touch the goods until you buy. And that's what her motto is. So it's a little spin on things. This is not necessarily a story per se. It's all kinds of stories in one. And also more of a insight on the mind of the working girl and how she thinks after an hour. It's not that she doesn't want you. Some girls, they want to stay longer, but they just can't because they have to get back to work. Again, long after your vacation, she's still going to have to make money in order to pay for her bills if you can't do that while you're gone. So, she said a lot of girls do want to stay longer. Why would they want to go back on the street and go get another customer and stuff? If a man could take care of her, she would change her life. But really, at the end of the day, it's tough. It's tough for you guys to find that one working girl that's honest for you. And it's tough for that working girl to find a man that's going to be able to take care of her long distance so she doesn't have to go on the street. And for that man to not find another woman. She said one time she fell in love with an American man, and he was coming all the time, sending her money all the time. Then one month he didn't send anything. She contacted him and he said he was going to send it. He said he was going to send it. And then all of a sudden she was blocked and she couldn't WhatsApp him, and she was so confused. And she went on her friend's account, her friend Facebook account, and he blocked her. No, sorry, he didn't block her. He unfriended her, but he didn't block her. And she was on her friend's Facebook account, and her friend is also friends with him. And she just happened to be scrolling, and she saw that he is with another woman. And his profile pic, he commented on her friend's picture. And so Helen saw the comment and she was like, "What?" And she clicked on it and she saw the picture, and here he was with another woman in his profile picture. She clicked on the relationship, and so it gave the woman's name. She clicked on the woman's name and went to the woman's profile and saw that the woman was a teacher in Wisconsin, and there was nothing she could do. She realized that he decided to be with a woman that was educated. Not that Helen's not educated. She's educated. She just hasn't really had any formal education. But she's an educated woman. She's a smart woman, an intelligent woman. So when she saw that he moved on like that with an American woman, she felt like there was nothing she could do. She felt hopeless. She couldn't give him what that other woman could, money, a pension, even close proximity. She couldn't do anything for him except give him sex when he comes here. So she felt really defeated, and that put a lot of, that deflated her hopes and her wishes and her dreams. But she says every day she does accept what her lifestyle is, and it's not easy. She knows she's still young. She doesn't know if she'll be with her current boyfriend forever, but they have children together and they love each other, and she hopes one day either he can make more money and take her away and provide a wonderful life for her, or if it's meant for her to be with a foreigner, then it will happen. And she says at that point, hopefully the foreigner will understand her hard lifestyle and the decisions that she had to make, and not judge her when she asks for a little bit more and think that she's using him. She said that she's the type of person that if a man loves her and holds her and squeezes her and treats her right and does everything that she needs, she will do the same for him, no matter what. So guys, that is the story from Helen. And Helen says she has a whole other lot of stories about like ladies of the night when they're working and different stories like that. She said she's trying to think of a few and she'll send them my way. And when she does, I'll make sure I let you guys know them. And in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. If you have a story that you want to share with me, please send it. A lot of times I'm not able to listen to I'm not able to take calls because I'm so busy, as you could imagine. But I will listen to your voice note on WhatsApp. My telephone number is 829-702-7726. Alrighty, you can leave me a voice note with your story and I will post it. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for contacting me. When you do, thank you so much for subscribing, for liking, and for watching this video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.